go see the Mardi Gras.
Happy Mardi Gras, and welcome to another episode of Tales from the Parade Route. Tonight, we are joined by two of the Overlords from the Krewe of Chewbacchus. So, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
So, tell us a little bit of the origin stories. Before we went in, I was telling y'all that I spoke with Brett many years ago, but I'd like to hear that story here as well.
There are many legends. The one that we know the best is, which is probably means it's the most true, is that a few friends had an idea to do something cool like a Mardi Gras parade, and over a conversation which may or may not have occurred at the Saturn bar, Ryan Ballard and Kira Haubrick came up with the idea of fusing Chewbacca and the Roman god of wine, and Chewbacchus was born.
There's been a few legends of things that occur at the Saturn bar. So the parade has grown pretty quickly in between size and turnout. The turnout in the past few years, it's been incredible. What do you see as the main driving force behind that? Is it just the creativity, people coming to see their friends as the parade grows, a combination of everything?
I think it's really amazing to see how much the Krewe has grown in just 12 short years. That first year was like a ragtag group of a couple hundred people. And I was not lucky enough to go to the first parade, but I participated in the second, and it was a rainy, wet day. And there were definitely more people in the parade than there were on the parade route. When we started, it was like torrential downpour, and we had waited and waited and waited, and finally we were like, we're just gonna go. Let's just go. We're gonna basically walk to the after party. It was an absolute blast, and I remember listening either to the radio or a news story or something when Chewbacca got first announced that first year, and I immediately heard it and thought, these are my people. And I was out of town and I couldn't go to the first one. And I think, the way I reacted to just hearing about Chewbacca is the same way a lot of people, as soon as you hear about it, as soon as you get to know what it's all about, we're a crew that celebrates nerd culture. And I think our mythos is very much kind of born out of this idea that Mardi Gras is all about satire and celebrating these myths of old, and Chewbacca is about celebrating the myths of our time, right? Like pop culture is our current storytelling that the masses revere and love and celebrate, as evidenced through all of these fandoms. And so I think it's just, the more people know about it, it was like an explosion overnight almost. It felt like, from a ragtag group of drunken nerds to now a zombie horde of drunken nerds.
Well, what really impresses me is the fact that, I think last parade, I saw the lineup list on y'all's Facebook, and there was like 130 different groups or something like that. And I was talking with one of y'all's members, and they said, oh no, it was like 150 by the time that 6 o'clock rolled around.
Mhm.
that, there was an additional like 20 groups that somehow forgot to sign up or whatever and showed up and were like, no, we're definitely here. We're here.
Yeah, that's
And
a great thing about time travel. People just pop up out of nowhere.
yeah. And the
That
thing
was
with it-
also that was also a really good impression of someone arriving at lineup.
yeah.
That's how we normally arrive.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. In fact, one of the funniest stories I have about Chewbacchus is one of the first times I've seen it. It was 7-8 years ago, something like that. We're running around. We go see every parade, and somehow they must have a break in the parade, and we wind up in the parade. He's driving like in the parade. I'm like, well, shit. I started throwing beads. So we quickly got out of it when we realized what was happening. But so we were unofficially crew number 151 that year.
But the variety of also the subcrews, that you mentioned how science fiction is like the pop culture these days. I mean, look at a lot of the TV shows, the movies, the books that are #1 bestsellers and top of the charts over the past 10 years. And it's been, you've got all the superhero movies, you've got the aliens movies, you've got Star Wars, you've got Star Trek, you've got Ghostbusters, there's so many different groups of movies, and then you see them all interspersed in the crew, and a lot of the times with little tongue-in-cheek things towards Mardi Gras. I mentioned Star Wars, like one that I was telling someone about today that always makes me chuckle is y'all's, I guess, salute to the 610 Stompers, that y'all have the 610 Wampas. The Rolling Elliots, the Crew to Who, obviously the Ghostbusters, plus a lot of the the subcrews that may not necessarily be related to a specific science fiction movie, but are just like that futuristic feel, or that steampunk feel, or I could go on for hours, obviously.
And the parade does go on for hours.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest kind of reasons for our success is that people see themselves in our parade, and they get to create what they want to see in the parade, and they have so much creative control over what they bring. It's really beautiful and like chaotic, because on the planning side of it, we don't really know exactly what's going to show up on parade day. People fill out a form and they give us a description and they say, I'm bringing a 12-foot space bison. And we're like, okay, sure, great. Make sure it follows all the rules, no fire, no glass, whatever, and show up. And so I think that it's very different from other parades, especially like the uptown parades. There is so much creative freedom, and I think people really love being able to put themselves into what they make for the parade, whether that's costumes or contraptions or throws.
So one of my favorite parts is of several years we kind of went to the end where everybody kind of parked their little contraptions around that after party, and just walking around, and you can really see it much better at that point, obviously, than trying to see everything all at once. And that's kind of a neat art display, for like, best way I could describe it.
Yeah, I'm so glad you enjoyed it, and it's really lovely to hear y'all say my favorite thing. And I remember the year that I saw that thing, like that's wonderful to hear. It's wonderful to hear local folks especially saying things like that. But yeah,
Oh,
that's how I got involved too. Is I
yeah.
had been going for a few years, 2 years, and then I said, I this parade needs a Princess Leia group. And then the next year, you
Okay.
know, got
Yeah,
together some roller derby friends and made it happen.
Now I know your group.
Yeah.
You didn't even.
yeah,
know
I
my
was
group
about to.
was
Yeah, I
wrong
was
with
about
you.
to mention that as well. Yeah, I mean, like Kirk was saying, the contraptions. I like that y'all actually don't call them floats; that they're particularly called contraptions. And yeah, to walk around afterwards and see, all the contraptions like the giant zombie thing for the cold and the big metallic. I don't even know how to describe it, but
Metallic contraption.
yeah, the big metallic contraption, the bar 2D2,
Yeah, and when you get close, you can see kind of how things are built, and I hope people are able to admire artistry and creativity, but I hope part of them is also like my friends and I can do something like that next year.
yeah,
But some of them, they're all real nice. I like what everybody does. Some of them really, you can tell spent weekend after weekend after weekend
Oh
on
yeah.
these things. You know,
Yeah, I often wonder like where people store their things across the city. And like when a hurricane comes, I'm like, I wonder how all the contraptions did. I
yeah,
hope everybody's okay and
yeah.
their
How
stuff's
many?
okay too.
Yeah, how many contraptions are sitting in traffic on I-10?
waiting in line for
Yeah,
gas.
the giant metal thing is right next to me.
You were talking before about how you like how locals really kind of gravitated towards you. I don't know if you realize this, but we had Arthur Hardy on last weekend or whatever it was, and he had sort of dismissed all the new age uh, parades for a long time until one of his buddies dragged him to Chewbacca's. He was like, "Wow, I've never seen that before."
Oh,
And actually, like, really, you changed the way that he looked at it, and I think you changed the way how a lot of locals look at it, like similar to you, like Crudeville and those sort of smaller kind of community groups. So,
Yeah, I think before us, Crew de Vue seemed like they were on an island of walking Mardi Gras parades. And in some ways they are a little bit of an island because they've very much stamped their own space and only they live in it, right? But I think what we have really tried to do is stay true to what the founders kind of set out as what Chewbacchus is and what is important. And some of our core tenets are DIY, green, like you want to do it, make it so, and cheap dues, right? Like it is a bedrock of our organization, because I think for me as a child growing up in New Orleans, seeing all those parades come down St. Charles Avenue are like, it's magical, right? Like we
Yeah.
all know that feeling, but like I never saw myself being able to be part of Mardi Gras in that way because like we came from a poor family, like that's extravagant.
Yeah, it costs a lot of money to ride in
It
an
costs a
uptown
lot of
parade or
money.
even a Metairie parade.
Yeah, and I think like for me, I always loved the bands. I always loved Pete Fontaine's Half-Ass Walking Crew. Like I just, even as a child, I loved it. And I think, the kind of combination of elements of sci-fi and Mardi Gras for all and make your own stuff and make your own way, like all of these things kind of layered together in this like beautiful chaotic thing that like I don't know, made me realize what's important about Mardi Gras. Because when we get together the whole year and work at my sister's house and work in my mama's den and do all of the things, we're making art to give away for free on the street. we're breaking bread, we're laughing, we're talking about, you know, why Chewbacca hasn't been promoted to general. Like there's a whole
Important stuff.
like family community bonding aspect of what happens in someone's living room when you're making Mardi Gras happen. And you know, getting back to layering all those things together, it comes together in a very beautiful way.
I do love that. I'm not sure if it's a rule or not, or just everybody does it, but all the throws are like handmade.
Yes, that's one of the things.
It is one of the rules.
Mhm.
I do love that. It does kill me as a doubloon collector because I'm never gonna get whatever.
All of the there's like 500 doubloons that get thrown
Yeah.
in Chewbacca's because
It's just those individual subcrews with their own doubloons.
Yeah, the little, we call that
I was also going to mention one of the other custom throws that I was lucky to get one, and when you wear it to the parade, seeing different crews smile at it is a bandolier. You know, just like Chewbacca wore. You know, I have a bandolier that was handmade, and there's little wooden blocks that represent different crews. And one year I saw I was wearing it, and someone stopped, and they were like, "Whoa, hold on!" And they reached into their pocket and pulled out one of the extra locks for it. Yeah.
Yeah, the bandolier, you know, the very first iterations of the like signature throw for bandoliers and Chewbacca's was like an entire one throw. And it was a bandolier with all of the decorations like sewn or glued onto it. And then as things evolved, this is one of the beautiful things I like about Chewbacca's is that we've built a wonderful community of creative nerds where we have these open forums on Facebook at build nights whenever we are able to get together. And somebody was like, well, what if we deconstructed it and made it one part bandolier, other part blocks that have Velcro on it, and everybody agrees on how we're going to put this together. And then all of the subcrews can have different blocks. And so like what the current iteration of the bandolier throw is not what it started as, but it evolved with members saying like, hey, let's do this instead and make it better.
Crowdsourcing.
You'd also mentioned that one of the special things with Chewbacca is that it's affordable. And there's something ironic. I know for many years, I'm assuming that it's still the same. What are dues for Chewbacca's?
Dues are $42 for the first 6 months after a parade. Due to rising general costs, we did need to increase dues over time, but members get a full 6 months access to that $2. Goes up by $20 2 more times, so it's still less than $100.
Yeah, still under $100 if you wait until parade day, pretty much, you know.
Yeah, if you want to join right now, it's $82, and if you really procrastinate and wait until parade day, you can still join on parade day if you pay $100.
Procrastination fee.
Yeah.
So I see there's a new route this year. Is this a permanent route, or is it a 1 year due to everybody else had to move? So I have friends right there on Frenchman, and they told me to yell at you, but I'm not going to do that.
I think permanent route in Chewbacca's world, it like doesn't exist, honestly. Like we've very rarely had the luxury of having the same route
Sorry.
We've very rarely had the luxury of rolling the same route back to back in 2 consecutive years, for different reasons, adjustments here, there. Honestly, before we got the final say so from the city. We had already made a modification to the beginning of the route. Normally we line up on Homer Plessy Way facing Noka, and kind of go down Charters and go through the neighborhood. And this year we decided to line up the opposite way and go straight onto St. Claude, just because St. Claude is so freshly, newly paved, and it's beautiful and shiny and less likely for someone to sprain an ankle. And then the Frenchman adjustment is 3-block change in our route. We still kind of pass by Frenchman, but with NOPD's staffing issues this year, they asked us, they had some concerns about their ability to staff. Specifically, Frenchman is always really tight. It's like densely packed, and just staying on Elysian Fields gives them easier access to a more dispersed crowd.
And too, I haven't told anyone else this because this is kind of nerd level deep parade details. But we would be marching against traffic on Frenchman Street, and that requires an hours earlier roadblock for, which is one of the things the police didn't have the staffing for. So they rerouted us to Elysian. It's bigger, and we're marching with the flow of traffic. So basically all they have to do is right before we get there, they step in and hold traffic. So it's a little bit easier on them and on drivers in the city. So that's good. We'll certainly miss Frenchman. But we hope to reapply next year to be back on Frenchman some.
That is a really tight area, I have to say. Last 2 years ago, we were on Frenchman right there, and it was packed. But it was fun to see because I know a lot of those people right there, so I'm standing in a crowd of buddies.
Yeah, Frenchman. I think the other issue too is that now that we roll 4 weeks out from Mardi Gras, we roll so early. There's no other competition. Everybody in town is coming to our game. And Frenchman, last time we rolled, I swear I saw people like pushed up against buildings. There was like crowds 10, 12 people deep. It was like I have never seen crowds like we saw crowds in 2020 on Frenchman.
Yeah, I remember one year that we were standing on St. Claude, and y'all were going down Frenchman first, and it took y'all forever to get through Frenchman because it was so packed. Like when you've got big contraptions like the big Godzilla, last year before, y'all had the big UFO. They're pretty wide, so to get through a crowd that's packed like Frenchman is on your parade day, it takes a lot of effort to get those big contraptions through. And I think that it delayed y'all like 45 minutes or something like that.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was 2019 or 2020, but the Overlords, we were high-fiving each other after because we found out that the Borg made it all the way through the parade.
Is that the big?
It was
the big block.
The big cube.
Yeah.
The metal box.
Yeah.
So, some years the trees interfere. Some years it's a wheel issue. But yeah, it's always a victory when those contraptions make it all the way to the end.
I did like that you moved to your own day now, because riding against Krewe and a couple others, really, it limited our time there, because we try to catch everything. So for us, it was, we try to catch it right at the beginning and then see it and run out. But now we can stay and kind of just relax and enjoy it, So that's
I agree, because once we moved, I found that I could actually relax and enjoy the rest of Mardi Gras season too, and I was like, I'm sold.
Yes.
Well, that's
Yeah,
like
and
we
I-
run the
I
first
always make a-
Friday for the same reason, you know.
Yeah, I always try to make a point to credit Richard Riggs for that because I didn't know what I thought about moving the date, and Riggs felt strongly about moving it early. And the first year we were like, "Oh yes, this is it. This is what we're doing from now on."
Yeah, y'all have had a few different days that y'all rolled. I mean, in y'all's earliest beginnings, it was on Bacchus Sunday, and it was running like 2 blocks off of the Bacchus route, if I recall correctly. Am I?
Yeah, no, that is 100% correct. And NOPD would never let us get away with that these days.
Well, how many people would you say were in the crew at that point?
At that first roll, so we only did that roll on Bacchus Sunday that first year. And I think 200 is probably a generous estimate.
Yeah, that's compared to.
Compared
what y'all have
to-
now, a couple thousand at this point.
Yeah, 2020, we rolled with 2,442 paying members.
Wow.
And we have probably about another 400 or so members, like the Stomp Troopers, who are a group that we subsidize, that we help folks with autism be part of the parade or other sensory issues, you know, that we kind of make sure there's a space for them. Folks like the New Orleans Public Library, they roll in the parade with us, and we're a partner with them every year because, you know, nerds got to stick together.
Yeah.
They hand out comic books on the route. I was actually just emailing with them earlier today. And then our other organization that's particularly unique is the Dreamweavers, or the 42nd Mobility Unit. Folks who are building contraptions on their mobility devices, on their
Oh, wow.
wheelchairs and similar mobility devices, and those look really cool. A lot of them are dressed like pilots of some sort of
Yeah. Okay.
cool looking spaceship. So that was an addition in 2020, and they're coming back in this year as well.
Awesome. There's another group of people that march with y'all as well. Your parade handlers, that they have a very special signification to them, shall we say.
We love our red shirts. Their motto is service, glory, death. They among others, there's lots of red shirt mottos. But our red shirts are based on the Star Trek trope of having characters who are about to die wear red shirts.
Yeah.
And they provide parade escorts for us as we roll, and then help us out with getting ready for the parade before we roll.
It's a great way to experience like being part of the crew for the first time, especially folks who don't really understand exactly what they're getting into. But it's so much fun. A lot of our red shirts we find actually become members, but it's a great way for people to get to know other people in the crew, volunteer, be our band moms essentially, and help make sure the drunk nerds in the parade stay separate from the drunk nerds watching the parade.
They do a great job.
That's a full-time job.
It is. They roll at no cost, and one of their rewards is some complimentary beer at the after party. So there's a little bit of payoff to serving the crew, in addition to the aforementioned glory.
They also serve as your cleanup crew, is that correct? Or is
Oh
that
no,
different?
we have a separate cleanup crew.
Oh, okay.
It is quite a big job, and though we have red shirts for the parade, we do not have that many red shirts. So we have a separate crew still handled from our membership, but we have a crew that comes in and does a great job cleaning up.
We
So
love our
you
ninjas.
mentioned the
Yeah.
after party. Tell us a little bit about the after party.
Ooh, yeah.
This year's after party is once again at the Fillmore, right there at the foot of Canal, nestled right next door to not Harris Casino. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Caesar, womp womp.
Caesars, yeah.
Caesars. And it starts at 10 o'clock. All of our members get into the after party, obviously with their membership dues, but it is open to the general public. Costumes are encouraged. It is so much fun. We'll have DJ Manny Fresh as the main entertainment. We'll have Bouffant. We'll have DJ Nothing. It is a blast. And the Fillmore is such a great location. It is, there's a reason why we're back there again.
Yeah, we walked out, or I guess walked into the party once the DJ got going last year, and seeing our members so fabulously costumed and dancing out there, just partying. It was a moment where you realize that you're in one of those super cool parties that you see in movies. That you don't think are real. You're in one of them.
It definitely felt like a Star Wars scene, because everybody is in the most glorious costumes. The Cantina band is going, and it's special.
Yeah, there's a robot cruising around.
So I think what we had gone to when it was still on the lot across from the firehouse is the last one that I had gone to, at least. But even that was, it was a blast, and we stayed for hours and hours. It was still going strong when we left.
That sounds right.
I'm like, how long y'all staying? Like, to kick us out, whatever. So
yeah, back in the day, those parties lasted till like 4 or 5 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
We're I think we are grown up as a crew a little bit out of that phase of our life. Not necessarily, I think a big part of that honestly is because our membership is so large. And finding an appropriate place that the fire marshals are like, yes, this is okay. And also that it accommodates all of our crew members. Having a venue that's ADA accessible is kind of a big deal with the number of people that we have. So it was time for us to grow up and have a real adult venue besides just a lot party, which I loved. I loved the lot parties.
I did like that spot there because a friend of mine was stationed at the firehouse across the street, and he had a drums and bagpipes band that he'd march with y'all a couple of times.
Yeah.
So it was fun to see him.
I think he might come to our lineup and play the bagpipes.
Oh, really?
There's this is a very New Orleans sentence. There's a pile of gravel by the railroad tracks, and the bagpipe guy climbs the pile and plays. And that's how we know the parade's about to start.
So I know that one thing that's very similar to Bacchus with y'all is there's been a grand marshal every year, and on numerous occasions it's been a celebrity, a world famous celebrity. Tell us a little bit about that.
We've had some pretty amazing royalty. I think probably for me, nothing will ever top having Peter Mayhew roll with us twice. It's honestly, just being in the same room with him at the after party was like life moment achieved, unlocked. I've done it. It's been fun, but this year specifically, it's been hard to nail down folks, mostly due to COVID. We had some really good leads, good interest from folks that we're going to keep on the contact list and say, hey, next year. But there ultimately was just, nobody wants, especially for the folks who are working right now on sets, nobody wants to be the person who brings COVID back to set.
Right.
So.
Well, I know that y'all had Brian O'Halloran. What was it, 2020 or was it 2019? Y'all have had several different celebrities, but on top of that, y'all have also had some locals to where I know there was a few different contests, or one of them was like a scavenger hunt, basically. Tell us a little bit about that.
We've done 2 years where we did scavenger hunt type royalty, and one was a long game. Back in 2019, we handed out 42 very special throws to the crowd, which had a coded message in them, which led them to a website that said, congratulations, you're in the running to be royalty in Chewbacchus 2020. And basically the whole year, we set up a series. I'm going to say Richard Riggs, because he's the true visionary of this. He set up a series of challenges. It was a whole system with points, and you could use your points to get clues to how to figure out the next clue. And then ultimately we ended up with Jesse Sanini being the winner. I want to say it was like maybe a week or so. It was very close to when we rolled in the parade. And she was crowned the victor of the about a dozen or so folks who played the game all year long. And yeah, it was fun. I think the idea really was that, like, kind of an homage to who we are as a crew. Like, everything is for the people, by the people, right? And so why not have our royalty come from the folks who love us the most?
Yeah, going back a little further and showing love to those red shirts. We had a red shirt reign as royalty in 2013, I believe.
13 or 14, something like that.
Same thing, just chosen from the ranks. And so the original Overlords led by example and kind of gave us that idea that we could play off of in the future. And kind of like what y'all mentioned earlier when asking about the route, is it a permanent change, or is it just for this year? As we go, we are learning that everything is just for this year.
Yeah.
The way we pick royalty, the route, just the way we do things, which keeps us on our toes as far as communication goes. But it also keeps things hopefully fresh for the folks who are participating and watching.
I know.
Yeah,
also,
I think the red shirt year, the person got chosen because they got the baby in the king cake.
Oh, that's amazing.
The traditional royalty.
Nice.
You might be the only one that's done that in the past 50 years.
You'd mentioned how the route and everything this year is just this year. Tell us about the parade day. What is the parade day this year?
Oh, that's a good question. It's February 5th on Saturday. Yeah. Lineup starts at 5 and then we roll at 7. The parade lasts about 3 hours because we're about a mile long when we get stretched out, and the route is about 2 hours. So our last folks are getting to the Fillmore at 10 o'clock or shortly after. And we go from Marigny through the French Quarter. The French Quarter was an addition in 2020. Though, as y'all mentioned before, we've been in the Marigny for quite a few years now.
Yeah.
But we're loving this Marigny French Quarter route.
It's a good final destination. I mean, the way your parade is, you're after party has to be the end of your route, you know.
Right now, that is a true
There's
statement.
no way around it, you know. So
Well, I do like also that it kind of stretches it out to where, I will admit when everything was in just like the Bywater Marigny, it seemed like there was like 2 or 3 places where it almost like looped around itself, almost like a spiral, to where if you got stuck in one spot, you had to wait for the entire parade to go through like that entire snake to in order to leave. And I like that it is due lack of better words, a straightaway shot for the most part.
Listen, we've learned some lessons over the years. Okay.
I thought y'all just did it to mess with us.
The length of our parade definitely was a contributing factor to that. I really didn't want to see an Ouroboros situation happening at all. One of the other contributing factors was the train tracks. Crossing those train tracks at St. Claude and Homer Plessy is a terrible idea that we learned firsthand, especially the year that we crossed them twice. And there's no knowing when a train is coming.
Right.
You can't plan for it. And it cut through the parade that year that we rolled twice.
Yeah. I remember that year, that we weren't by the train track, but it's like we saw, about 30 minutes of the parade.
Yeah, well, like that's
And
it. What
then
happened
we're
to the
like,
parade?
that's the shortest
That
that
can't be
Chewbacca,
it.
like we were like,
Yeah.
is Chewbacca's folding? And then like we're sitting around waiting, and about 30 minutes later, here come another group of people.
Yeah, that year, the first time the train bisected us during that parade, it bisected through my subcrew, and like half of our subcrew made it past the train and half of them didn't. And so for essentially the rest of the parade, like they never caught up.
Yeah, I mean, a 30-minute gap basically, for one of the trains that passes right there. It's not just like a streetcar. It's it's a
Proper
couple hundred.
freight
Yeah, it's a
train.
couple hundred cars rolling on that train sometimes.
But
Yeah,
we were
yeah.
totally confused by that. So the next year we were like, oh, okay, it's fine. Like something happened. I didn't realize it was a train. That makes
Yeah.
that adds up now.
Where can people follow the crew?
Yeah, so there's plenty of information out there that we publish for the crew. We have our website at chewbacchus.org. On Facebook, there are 2 places that are our main sources on Facebook. The Intergalactic Krewe of Chewbacchus page is our public facing announcements page. And then our Krewe of Chewbacchus group is our main kind of communication space for within our own members. And then you can also follow us on Instagram at Krewe of Chew.
And I guess it's safe to also say that a lot of the subcrews have their own Facebooks and Instagrams and Twitters as well.
So many subcrews. I never know exactly who's coming the day of the parade, and there's definitely some folks who've they don't roll anymore, and I still miss them. The Krewe of Share, I think, only rolled 1 year, and I really wish I would have seen more of exactly what they were, because their submission on our subcrew rodeo forum was one of my favorites, because it talked about, you may not think that Cher should be part of the Krewe of Chewbacchus, but you would be wrong, because she's obviously an alien. And I think that's, that's one of the things I love so much about Chewbacchus is that it's like, it doesn't matter what your fandom is. If you love it and you're passionate about it and you want it to be your thing, like join us, one of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know if
I
I've
had
ever
a-
been
a-
partial
speaking
to a
of-
single. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Let's just say I don't know if I've ever been partial to one crew or one sub crew. I've always liked the Rolling Elliots. I think that's just hilarious. There's a couple others that always catch my eye, like, oh yeah, I forgot about these guys. But no, that's just crew after crew of originality and different characters having fun. I just, it's unlike anything else, really.
That's so good to hear. The Rolling Elliots are the sub crew that made me fall in love with Chewbacchus. I just instantly knew what they were doing, right? They're doing a play on a Mardi Gras thing or they're doing a Mardi Gras play on a pop culture thing, and it was just so perfect and silly and wonderful. And then I had a couple of moments, speaking of social media and sub crews. The women of Wakanda have been producing some of the most beautiful costumes that you will see in any parade anywhere, not just in New Orleans. Like I would put them up against a carnival or a parade anywhere in the world. So they're just inspiring and beautiful, and it looks like they really have a good time too. And then one of the sub crews, the new sub crews for this year that's been giving me a chuckle is Crazy for Swayze. And they're going to be dressing as all different iterations of Patrick Swayze and characters from Patrick Swayze movies.
I can't wait.
So be on the lookout for them.
I enjoy seeing a friend of mine is the captain of the Chewbacchus group, and seeing some of the every weekend she's just randomly crafting up different throws, and seeing the random throws from her and people in her sub crew, it just makes me die laughing. People will make, instead of gingerbread men, they were looking at making, like Chewbacca men cookies.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think those happened. I think I've seen those.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier about some of the original overlords. I understand that there's sort of a term limit to your reign. Is that something that stays, or is that it's just changed over time, or
We all decided that 8 years was too long. That's what the original overlord served, and that's just a very long time to be in charge of a big thing like Chewbacchus. So the three of us new overlords have guidelines for when we'll rotate out, but no hard and fast, like nothing in the bylaws says we have term limits or anything. But this is actually my last year as overlord. I will be rotating out on February 6th.
I assume you're remaining in the crew. Were you in a
Leisurettes?
Yeah.
There you go.
I'll still be dancing with the Leisurettes, and I'll probably still be doing a lot of volunteering.
Yeah, it's always good for a crew when you have experienced people running the show, and then even when they take a step back, and they're still available for that advisement and like you said, volunteering and helping with miscellaneous functions of the crew.
Yeah,
So,
we're super fortunate. All the original overlords still help us out when all we have to do is ask. Brett Powers was really instrumental in getting me going. Kira was there to be my shoulder to cry on, and also just had so much good advice. And Ryan was always able to pass along that official information that we needed. He still sends us emails like, "Hey, this came to me instead of going to you guys." So yeah, we're super fortunate.
Yeah, I think one of the things, when I came on, Brooke had been on for 1 year, and then Richard Riggs and I both came on the very next year. So in some ways, it very much felt like the three of us were all new together.
Mhm.
And it was overwhelming. It's a lot of work. It sometimes feels like a full-time job in your after hours, when you're not at work. And I think our kind of the guidelines we put in place for ourselves were, let's not do this to someone else. And let's have a plan,
Yeah.
so that we're essentially not bringing three newish people all in at one time, and we have like a better rotation plan so that folks can enjoy their retirement years after they've served the crew.
Well, even though I know that there's several people within the crew as well that I know are super active, and it seems like Chewbacchus isn't just a parade, it's a way of life. To use that movie cliche or whatever, that I'll see them posting things about Chewbacchus year round. I've got you on my Facebook, Brooke, and you're always, throughout the year, you're, talking to, your fellow Chewbaccans, and I know that other people in the crew as well. They're working on, whether it be working on contraptions year round, helping. One of my friends has a 3D printer, and he's active with your crew, and he's always printing up little, fidgets or whatever that are helping somebody with putting together their contraption. And it could be like July, and he's still like, "Hey, Fred, I printed this up for you. It'll go good to connect your contraption to your trailer hitch when you're bringing it to the parade route."
Yeah, it's wonderful. This is so we can say a lot of bad things about social media, but one of the great things is that year round we get to see those little moments of inspiration when other people have them, and then it inspires you in some way, whether it's just to start a list, or maybe you pick up the glue gun that day, or maybe you put on your majorette boots and see how they fit, right? Like it's wonderful how that really carries, it really spreads throughout the crew as we go throughout the year.
Yeah, and I think Chewbacchus has such a good community of creators, that, I mean, I probably say this in every single interview I do about the crew, but Chewbacchus for me is like real meaning of life type stuff, because I get together with my friends and family on a Friday night, and I make art, and I do these like beautiful little like building days where it's not just about building something for Chewbacchus, it's building community. It's building experiences that shape your life and your relationships and how you interact with all of your friends.
Yeah, the principles of some of our Chewbacca's rules carry over into my life too. I'm always trying to be at net zero for the impact that I that I leave on my immediate area, which is a Chewbacca's principle. Yeah, I come from I studied literature, so I come from from thinking about a lot of things in Chewbacchus in a theoretical way, there's this theory that basically says we are our true selves when we're in costume. And for me, the big picture is seeing everyone in that state on parade day of being their true selves and creating this moment that only happens once in the universe. And I talk about this a lot too, because it is the most meaningful thing to me, that this only happens once. It brings a lot of urgency to those late nights that we're putting in for parade planning, but it's so worth it.
Yeah, I can, talking from a spectator, I can guarantee you, every year, we leave with, at least 100 stories of how awesome the parade was. And, earlier today, I was telling someone from out of town that's never been to Mardi Gras, and, during a 30 or 40-minute talk with them, at least 15 to 20 minutes of it was just about Chewbacchus and how much I love and I enjoy going to Chewbacchus.
Y'all have to stop or we're gonna start crying.
Yeah. I mean, like this is the thing, that these are the things that keep you going, right? When it's hard work and when your contraption doesn't work right, or and things are going wrong and your costume didn't glue together the way you thought it was, or we're dealing with, big picture problems like how to bus people to an after party and it's 4:00 and the party's at 10 and I don't have buses. It's there are moments on the planning end that are very difficult. And but it's all made worth it by those magical moments that you create with your crew, with your fans, with the folks on the route. When you hand that person this piece of art that you made, and the joy and the glee and the excitement, the connection, the magic of that moment is it's kind of like unlike anything else I've ever done.
I've always liked the sort of crowd participation that happens in Chewbacchus, and talk about like how hard it is to keep the contraptions going. Well, I've seen some of them just straight up fall over, and half the crowd will get up, prop it back up, and the parade goes on. Like more crowd participation is what I meant, as far as singing and dancing along. But that
one of our other crew mottos is crew love is true love. And that's true of our members and our fans of the crew too. It's true. It's not a joke. It's real, because these moments are special. And I think that's one of the things that's really beautiful about living in New Orleans, that people here really understand how special that is, and they appreciate it in a way that I don't think you get, I would guess, in any other city.
No, it's a different feel here. I mean, not to say that I've been all over the world during Mardi Gras Day, because simply I won't be any place else, but it's a different feel here. Mardi Gras comes around that 1 month a year, we're all kind of like, oh, king cake, and then just things go steadily uphill and downhill at the same time.
That's a really good description.
So I really want to thank y'all for coming on today with us. We've had a blast, and like I said, we look forward to going to Chewbacchus every year. I can't wait to see y'all this year. It's always entertaining. If you've never been to one of the walking parades, I highly recommend go and see Chewbacchus. That it is an experience, and this isn't just me trying to butter y'all up or whatever. It's
right, come on at this point.
I mean, this is the absolute truth, that I always have a great time at y'all's parade.
Yeah, well, that's one of the reasons, we had actually been trying to get y'all on for some time, just scheduling or whatever. It didn't work out, but you were one of our real catches, and we really appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you
Aw,
so much.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah.
Y'all have to tell us where you watch the parade now.
Well, I mean, this year we probably can because we're not running around
Yeah.
to try to catch others at the same time. So.
Probably this year will be along St. Claude. I don't know. I'll let you know.
Okay.
But
We'll find you.
Yeah. Say hello. Thanks for
Yeah,
having us.
yeah, thank you so much.
you.
So signing out, we'll see you on the route. Yeah,
So,
one little piece that I would like to actually get while we're still recording. I don't think I asked y'all. What's the theme for this year?
Oh yeah.
How did I not ask
I
about
don't know.
themes?
That's usually your first question.
Our 2022 theme is system reset, because
We need it.
look around, we need it. We felt like it was a good encapsulation of what we needed as a crew, what we need for our Mardi Gras season, and a good forward-looking idea to let's get back on this magical ride. I think for me, it's been very difficult getting inspired during the pandemic. The creativity doesn't quite flow the same way when you're doing Zoom craft nights.
Yeah.
And so I've struggled, and I really hope that this whole carnival season is a rebirth for us in our creative energy.
Yeah. Early on, I was doing a lot of creativity stuff, and then it stalled for the longest time. And yeah, now that Mardi Gras is getting closer, as he was saying, we ride in Excalibur, and our signature throw is shields. So it's a little like wooden shield that's about the size of a piece of paper. And the other day we started decorating them, and at first we were both like, man, I've got writer's block. I can't think of what to decorate on these things. And then we went and sat down for a few minutes inside to warm up, because we, for the most part, we paint them outside so that I don't get craft herpes all over my house, also known as glitter. And
I was still stumped.
yeah.
Like I ended up doing like 4 or 5 of them this weekend. I was like, done. I don't know.
But yeah, we once I went back outside, I was like, oh, we need this on here. I need this on here. I need this on here. And I have like 10 of them that are drawn out that I just need to start paint by numbering.
Mhm. I've always been a person who gets ideas when artistic events are happening, whether it's I'm in a museum, or I'm attending some sort of reading, or going to a parade or something. And I also have been really struggling to feel connected with the creative parts of my brain. And I'm trying not to feel too bad about that. And I'm going to show up on parade day and be really willing to experience those moments as they come. And I know that will get everything going for the future. So I'm trying to, as Instagram images say, I'm trying to be gentle with myself.
You're probably similar to me. Like once I have an idea, I can pull it off, but I'm just not
Sure.
that imaginative. Like, so I like rack my brain with something to do. I'm like, oh, got it. Do that one thing. Like, shit, what's next? Like, what you got?
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And
especially
for
like
me,
this,
that
I don't want to make the same generic things. I want to make one specific to my friends, or
right.
like it's our 20th anniversary this year, so I want to do something on
Oh.
that. But we still have to paint it all. So to make an elaborate design is either gonna look really nice and take 5 hours and I get one done, or so there's a balance there too. But we'll get them done. And you know what? By the time the parade rolls, it's all gravy. By that point, let your hair down and go.
It's happening by that point.
Yeah.
Right.